Now I want to dive into something a little bit different. And money makes the world go round. And I know this is the House of Worship segment. We're talking about, increasing your flock, increasing your message, and how having a more engaging, more multimedia service can have your younger people, older people, people who are not there come in. But I want to talk about something else, and that is over the last year or so, we've been approached by a lot of houses of worship who actually are talking about their event rooms, their catering halls, their revenue, the spaces where they do their weddings, the bar mitzvahs, where they have ceremonies, where they have special dinners, and they honor, the fundraisers and stuff like that. And we really wanted to talk about those spaces because what the people who called us were asking about was, how can I get more out of this space? How can I make this space more functional? How can I create more revenue from this space to help offset other costs and other missions that we have in our house of worship? So let's talk about that. Many houses of worship, in addition to having your cathedral, your temple, your mosque, your synagogue, or what do we call just the main room where we have a church worship? Chapel, there we go. Drawing a blank. Your chapel, that's a big open room with seats, and we know how that looks. But oftentimes, you'll have an event space that could be 50 by 50, a ton of square footage, where you're having people have parties, you're doing catering, often there's a stage, there's performances. Well, that space can be really benefited by investing in some video technology as well that can make the space, more available, more valuable, and also allow through streaming the ability to see what's going on in that space who can't be there. So let's talk about that a little bit. Live streaming and recording. Well, a lot of the gear that we're already talking to you about, like let's say you want to put a TriCaster to run your service. Well, you can use that that TriCaster also to be watching PTZ cameras and streaming a show from within your event space. You can put a single PTZ camera up there, even if you just want to be able to record and watch what's going on, to be able to stream it to people who are not there. Or if you have multiple spaces where you might have a waiting room or a overflow room, you could have a TV in there showing the show. So things to think about for live streaming recording, house of worship outside of the actual church itself, but in the event space. PTZ cameras, absolutely 100%. We have PTZ cameras indoors, outdoors, different throws, which means, a 30X is from what's in the back of the room, a 10X is a wider view when it's right in front of the stage. We have encoders that can allow you to stream remotely, like a live view encoder. So if you're doing things outdoors, maybe your house of worship has a beautiful grounds in it, and you want to show some stuff from the grounds where you have gardens, or you have an outdoor archway, a meditation park, whatever it is, you can take video from there. And then, of course, you can use your existing video mixer, or you can say, hey, we're thinking about buying a TriCaster or an Epiphan or a video mixing solution, and we want to use it both for our services as well as for our ceremonies and our events and our celebrations. So I want you to really think about that, because it's a way to make your space more valuable. And how does that value come in? Well, multi-camera productions, the kids are dancing, they're doing their thing. If you have 2 or 3 cameras in that room and you're cutting between the cameras, that's a value you can add, that you can either offer that where you have someone who's a volunteer on hand who does that mixing, or perhaps you just make it available that when the DJ comes in, he has access to your equipment and he can use your equipment to do the multi-camera stuff. And those videos can be used inside the venue or to stream outside. People want to watch the wedding who can't make it. Grandma's in Arizona and she can't make it up to Chicago to see the wedding. Well, maybe she wants to see all the fun celebration and stuff too. So why not have that be something that could be streamed as well and recorded for all posterity? And what's cool about that is one of the ways we really found out about this was one of our local DJs came to us and said, we are trying to work with one of the house of worship in our area, and we're talking about doing a video wall that we'd like to permanently install it in there. And when we would go do our events in there, we obviously wouldn't pay an extra fee for it, but they would be able to use that video wall to get an extra fee from other DJs who wanted to use it. We would always be the people who set it up and got it working, but it would be available for not just us. So he had a hook into that catering facility. The catering facility had a value add, and everyone ended up making more money from it. And what's really cool about that, pull this up full screen because I think it really shows you how clever. People are using the screens for the kids to dance in front of them. Maybe it's behind the DJ or the band. Maybe the screen is what's behind the dais showing the highlights of everything. The beauty of these big LED screens is they can fill a whole room with these lights. You can see them beautifully. Everything looks crisp and clear. And like we talked about earlier in the show about dot pitch, if you've got a 2.5 dot pitch, then people can stand in front of it. And if they're videotaping, so if you've got a videographer who's videotaping, the whole ceremony, the whole celebration, when he pans in front of those screens, it's going to look great. It's going to look fantastic, as good as the still image you see behind me here. So it's a great way to create a more dynamic and modern atmosphere, and it's a hook to get people to want to use your event space versus other people's. And event spaces can also be used not just for the religious events that go in a temple or a church, a wedding, a bar mitzvah, a christening, a confirmation, but why not use it to reach out for your community, where your community can use it for local companies and nonprofits and community organizations. You could have your local theater group maybe once before there, or maybe you could have a battle of the bands, or you can host conferences and seminars and even corporate events. It can maximize the facility usage beyond religious services. So maybe even during the week, you can have companies, if they want to use it to do a multimedia full, the whole rigmarole, they can. And once again, with the beauty of some of the technologies we've shown you throughout the entire worship stream, NDI is a technology that means if you've got a TriCaster in one room in the church and you've got it on a network, every single device that's NDI that plugs into that network will have access. The TriCaster will have access to it and it'll fully communicate. So you're not running wires all over the place. Through PoE, you can power the PTZ cameras from the same network jack we're talking about. So this isn't a big complex installation, but from the same TriCaster that produces the service every Sunday, you could have someone sitting there and producing the whole celebration that's in the event room. And if you have multiple event rooms, we can still handle that, because you can put your cameras in the different event rooms and decide which one's going to get that TriCaster or not, or which one's going to get the video wall. And I want to get back to that video wall, because should I wait for the Q&A on the video wall or jump into the question that came up? I'm going to jump into it. One of the people pinged us and said, our house of worship, we want to put a big sign outside, so when people come by the highway, they can see what's going on. And apparently one of the houses of worship in their area has a sign that looks pretty, it's good, but I'm sorry. It's good, but it's not great. It looks good when you're driving by the highway and you see it, but when you get up close on the grounds, it doesn't look as good. And they want something that's higher resolution outdoor. And I just want to let everyone know that we have access to AppSend outdoor screens at all different pitches as well. And those can be used for things like scoreboards or just messaging and digital signage outdoors. So I just wanted to say that, AppSend House of Worship screens can be in the church itself, behind the pulpit and for the event. It can be in overflow rooms. It can be in celebration and catering spaces. And they can also be outside your building or in your lobbies as well. There's a lot of different areas where a video wall can really enhance the engagement of your community and your congregation. And then the last thing I want to talk about, I know it's not really worship, it's a little morbid, but we have gotten a lot of requests for our technology from funeral parlors and cemeteries, because there are people who can't travel and make it to the funeral, but who still want to participate and honor and remember and be there for the service. So we have funeral halls putting PTZ cameras, one camera in the back of the room so they can stream live to people. And then we've also had a few cemeteries who put live view units where they actually have the ability now where they don't have to, they use cell service in the video of the live view so they can bring the graveside services to those people who can't be there. Once again, it's just something we've seen that's come in and come about. I don't really know if funerals and cemetery services go to House of Worship, but I know anytime you go there, there's a priest or a rabbi or a chaplain. So we thought it would be good to throw that in the show. So if anyone is thinking about that, we have we have video technology that is for that. It's not for entertainment purposes. It's really, just so that those who can't be there can join in the celebration of the life of the person that was.